Welcome back to our channel. Discover the power of the past with the iconic 5-cent coin, a little change that packs a lot of history. In 1979, a coin that we now know as the USA 5-cent coin, or the nickel, quietly continued its role in everyday transactions across the United States. At the time, the coin was part of the fabric of American life, making its way through cash registers, pocketbooks, and jars of loose change. But little did anyone know that one particular version of the 1979 5-cent coin would rise to prominence, not just as a piece of currency, but as a rare treasure worth a small fortune. To understand how a simple nickel would go from being an everyday coin to a highly sought-after rarity, we need to take a step back and look at the context of 1979, the year it was minted. The world was in a period of transition. The U.S. was still reeling from the economic challenges of the 1970s, including high inflation and an energy crisis, but the country was also beginning to embrace new technologies, pop culture was shifting, and the economy was gearing up for a new decade of change. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint continued its regular production of coins, including the nickel. The design of the 5-cent coin, which had been in use for over a century by 1979, was not new. The nickel's obverse, front, featured the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States. Jefferson, a founding father and author of the Declaration of Independence, was portrayed in profile, looking contemplative and dignified. His image had graced the 5-cent coin since 1938, when it replaced the Buffalo nickel. The design was created by artist Felix Schlag and became a lasting symbol of the country's heritage and history. On the reverse side of the 1979 nickel, the design depicted Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, a reminder of his legacy and his contributions to the nation. The building, which was located in Virginia, was designed by Jefferson himself and became a national symbol of his vision for America. The reverse design had been in place since 1938 as well, and its depiction of the classical architecture of Monticello was meant to represent the ideals of the nation. It was a simple yet powerful image, reflecting the values of strength, unity, and the foundation of the Republic. But what made the 1979 5-cent coin so significant, and what would ultimately set it apart from all the other nickels that were produced that year? Well, as with many coins, the value of the 1979 nickel would not be determined by its design or its intended purpose in everyday commerce. No, the value of the 1979 nickel would come from an error, a mistake made during the minting process that would go unnoticed at first but later cause a stir among collectors and numismatists. Let's take a moment to understand how a coin is created. The U.S. Mint uses a series of highly precise processes to strike coins, ensuring that the designs are sharp, clear, and true to their intended form. This is done using dies that impress the design into the metal. For the 1979 nickel, the metal used was a mix of copper and nickel, a combination that made the coin durable and resistant to wear. The minting process was largely flawless, with millions of these nickels being produced and entering circulation as normal. However, in the case of the 1979 nickel, something went awry. A small yet significant error occurred in the minting process that would later make some of these coins highly valuable. The error in question was a case of double striking, where the die used to strike the design onto the coin was improperly aligned during the minting process. This misalignment caused the coin to be struck twice, creating a blurred, double image effect on the obverse and reverse. At first glance, most people would have simply written off the 1979 nickel as just another coin in circulation. After all, it was common for people to encounter coins with minor flaws or imperfections, such as slightly off-center strikes or faint designs. These small mistakes typically didn't attract much attention, and most coins were quickly overlooked, spent, or discarded. However, the error that affected the 1979 nickel would be different. Over time, numismatists and coin collectors began to take notice of these oddities. To the trained eye, the double-struck 1979 nickels stood out. The blurry images on the coins were unlike anything seen before on a standard nickel. The misalignment created a unique and fascinating visual effect, one that piqued the interest of collectors who specialized in rare and error coins. These coins had something that most others didn't: a story. A story of a rare minting mistake, a story of chance, and a story of opportunity. It wasn't long before the value of these misaligned 1979 nickels began to rise. Word spread among collectors, and they started searching for these rare error coins, paying close attention to their condition and quality. As with many error coins, the condition was critical. A well-preserved double-struck 1979 nickel would be worth far more than one that had been worn down or damaged in circulation. Collectors began seeking out these coins, knowing that they represented a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And now, let's fast forward to the present day, where the 1979 double-struck nickel has become a symbol of how a small mistake in the minting process can lead to a big payoff for those in the know. In recent years, one particular example of a 1979 double-struck nickel, in pristine condition, was sold for an eye-popping $140,000. Yes, you heard that right, $140,000. This particular nickel, which was originally worth just 5 cents, became a rare and highly sought-after treasure in the numismatic world. The incredible value of the 1979 double-struck nickel is a testament to the power of rarity, timing, and the unexpected twists of fate that can turn an ordinary coin into a precious collectible. The story of this coin shows us that in the world of coin collecting, a simple mistake can sometimes lead to a fortune. For the lucky collector who found that elusive double-struck 1979 nickel, their investment paid off in a way that most people could only dream of. So, what makes the 1979 5-cent coin so valuable today? It's the rarity of the minting error, the uniqueness of the double strike, and the fact that these coins, though produced in large quantities, were just the right amount of wrong to make them desirable to collectors. It's a perfect example of how even the smallest imperfections can turn a mundane coin into something extraordinary. As we conclude this journey into the world of the 1979 USA 5-cent coin, remember that the value of a coin isn't always tied to its intended purpose. Sometimes, it's the unexpected mistakes that make the biggest impact. The story of the 1979 double-struck nickel reminds us that in the world of rare coins, fortune favors the lucky, and in this case, that lucky collector who stumbled upon a coin worth $140,000. The next time you come across a coin, whether it's a nickel or a penny, who knows? It could just be the next big find in the fascinating world of numismatics. In the year 2000, the world was standing at the crossroads of a new millennium. The turn of the century was a time of immense change, both technologically and culturally. The world was gripped with excitement and uncertainty, as people looked forward to the promise of the 21st century. The global economy was booming, the internet was reshaping the way we lived, and the world seemed full of endless possibilities. Amidst all this change, however, there was one constant: the US 5-cent coin, also known as the nickel, continued its role in the everyday lives of Americans. It passed through cash registers, sat in coin jars, and was handed over as change at stores, just like it had for over a century. Yet, little did anyone know, the 2005-cent coin would soon become more than just a humble nickel. It would become a rarity, a highly sought-after treasure in the world of numismatics, and a coin that would eventually fetch a staggering sum. It's a story of rarity, discovery, and the unexpected twists of fate that would change the value of this coin forever. To fully understand the significance of the 2000 USA 5-cent coin, let's start by taking a look at the historical context of the coin and its design. The nickel had undergone a variety of design changes over the years, but by 2000, it had settled into a familiar look. The obverse, or front of the coin, featured the image of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, a man whose contributions to the country were nothing short of monumental. Jefferson, known for writing the Declaration of Independence and serving as the country's president during a pivotal time in American history, had been featured on the nickel since 1938. The portrait of Jefferson on the 2000 nickel was designed by Felix Schlag and had been unchanged for decades, capturing the president in a dignified left-facing profile with his iconic hairstyle and signature. The reverse side of the 2000 nickel, however, was different from its predecessor. In 2000, the U.S. Mint issued a new design for the reverse side of the 5-cent coin to celebrate the 200th anniversary of Jefferson's birth. This new design featured a striking image of Jefferson's estate, Monticello, which was located in Virginia. The image of Monticello was a fitting tribute to Jefferson's legacy and vision for the country. It was designed by artist John Reich, and the depiction of the building symbolized Jefferson's belief in the importance of architecture, education, and a strong foundation for the nation. The new reverse design replaced the older version of the coin, which had featured the image of Monticello but in a less detailed and more simplified form. The 2000 nickels reverse was a beautiful tribute to Jefferson's home, a design that would become iconic in its own right. Now, let's take a step back and look at the minting process for the 2005-cent coin. Like all coins produced by the U.S. Mint, the 2000 nickel was created using a combination of copper and nickel. The Mint used high-precision machines to strike millions of these coins, ensuring that they were produced to exacting standards. These coins were then sent out into circulation, where they were used by Americans to make purchases and as change in their everyday transactions. However, as with all mass production processes, sometimes things don't go as planned. Even with the best technology and machinery, minting errors can occur. The U.S. Mint's production of coins is designed to be as accurate as possible, but sometimes, misalignments, die cracks, or other issues can lead to unexpected results. This is where the story of the 2000 USA 5-cent coin takes an interesting turn. As the 2000 nickel was being produced and distributed, a small but significant error occurred in the minting process. In some cases, certain coins were struck with a minting flaw that caused them to be produced with an off-center design. This minting error, though subtle, was enough to make these coins stand out in a way that would later make them highly desirable to collectors. At first, these off-center coins went largely unnoticed. Most people were simply using their nickels in everyday transactions, unaware of the rare mistake that had been made during the minting process. However, as time passed, collectors began to recognize the uniqueness of these misaligned 2000 nickels. They had something special, something that other coins didn't have, a visual distortion that set them apart from the millions of regular, properly minted coins that were circulating. This error, though seemingly small, would have a big impact in the world of coin collecting. Collectors, always on the lookout for rare and unusual coins, began to take notice of these off-center 2000 nickels. They recognized that a coin with such a flaw could be valuable, and the hunt was on to find these rare misaligned nickels. People began checking their spare change more carefully, hoping to stumble upon one of these elusive coins. Some collectors found only a few, while others were lucky enough to come across entire rolls of misaligned 2000 nickels. As with all rare coins, the value of these misaligned 2000 nickels began to rise. What had once been just a regular 5-cent coin, indistinguishable from the billions of other nickels in circulation, was now being sought after by collectors willing to pay top dollar for it. But it wasn't just the rarity of the minting error that made these coins valuable. It was also the story behind the error, the fact that it was a mistake made by the mint itself, and the uniqueness of each coin. Each off-center 2000 nickel was a product of chance, a small anomaly in the minting process that could never be replicated. Over time, the price of these rare 2000 misaligned nickels continued to climb. As more collectors learned about the error, demand for these coins grew. The market for error coins, especially those from the U.S. Mint, is known to be fiercely competitive, with collectors often willing to pay high prices to secure the rarest specimens. As the years passed, the value of the 2000 off-center nickel reached new heights, and it wasn't long before a coin that had once been worth just 5 cents was now fetching tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, one particular 2000 off-center nickel, in near-perfect condition, was sold for an astounding $122,000. Yes, you heard that right, $122,000. A nickel that had once been used to purchase a cup of coffee, a snack, or a newspaper, had now become worth a small fortune. The auction that saw the sale of this coin was nothing short of a spectacle, with collectors from around the world vying for the chance to own this rare piece of American numismatic history. So, what made the 2000 USA 5-cent coin so valuable today? It's the rarity of the minting error, the uniqueness of each off-center coin, and the fact that these coins are a product of chance, something that couldn't have been predicted or planned. In the world of coin collecting, rarity and uniqueness are what drive value, and the 2000 off-center nickel embodies both of those qualities. As we reach the conclusion of this journey into the world of the 2000 USA 5-cent coin, remember this: even the most common and everyday items can hold hidden value. The 2000 off-center nickel is a testament to how something as simple as a minting error can turn an ordinary coin into a treasure worth thousands of dollars. It's a reminder that in the world of numismatics, the unexpected is often the most valuable, and sometimes, a small mistake can lead to a big payoff. So, the next time you dig into your change jar or receive a handful of coins from the cashier, take a moment to inspect them closely. You never know, you might just be holding on to the next big find, a rare coin worth far more than its face value. After all, as the story of the 2000 USA 5-cent coin shows, sometimes the most ordinary things can become extraordinary treasures. In 1989, the United States was living through an era of significant change. The world was transitioning into a new phase of globalization, technology was beginning to make its mark, and the world of politics and economics was shifting in ways that would shape the coming decades. But even amid all this change, there was one constant: the US 5-cent coin, known as the nickel. The nickel, like other denominations, had long been a staple of American currency, seen in wallets, vending machines, and countless transactions. But what many people didn't know at the time was that the 1989 5-cent coin would go on to become a symbol of rarity and value, something far beyond its original 5-cent face value. In fact, a coin that once circulated freely would eventually be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, making it one of the most coveted treasures for coin collectors. To understand how the 1989 nickel became such a valuable piece of numismatic history, we first need to explore the historical context of the time, the design of the coin, and the circumstances that led to it becoming a highly sought-after collector's item. In 1989, the United States was experiencing a period of economic stability and growth. The Cold War was drawing to a close, and George H.W. Bush was the sitting president. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint continued producing coins as it always had, following the familiar patterns established over decades. The nickel, which had featured Thomas Jefferson on its obverse, the front side, since 1938, was no different. Jefferson, the third president of the United States, had become an enduring symbol of American values, democracy, and the nation's founding principles. His likeness, as designed by Felix Schlag, was striking and dignified, capturing the essence of a man who played such a crucial role in shaping the young republic. On the reverse side of the 1989 nickel, as with all previous nickels, was an image of Jefferson's Virginia home, Monticello. This symbol, created by John Reich, had been part of the coin's design for over 50 years, representing the strength and grandeur of the nation's architectural heritage. The Monticello building, designed by Jefferson himself, had come to embody the nation's ideals of education, liberty, and democracy. It was a fitting tribute to a president who had so deeply influenced the founding of the United States. At a glance, the 1989 nickel was like all the others, seemingly ordinary, easily overlooked, and simply part of the daily flow of currency. But as we know in the world of numismatics, seemingly ordinary coins sometimes carry hidden value. This is where the story of the 1989 5-cent coin takes an interesting turn. While most 1989 nickels were minted and distributed without any issues, there were some notable and rare examples of coins that didn't quite meet the mint's usual standards. These coins, which slipped through the cracks of the minting process, would later become highly coveted by collectors. As with most error coins, the key to their value lay in the rarity of the mistake and the uniqueness of the coin. In this case, the 1989 nickel's error was the result of a minor but impactful flaw during the production process. Some of the 1989 nickels were struck with a misalignment that caused them to have a distinctive, off-center strike. This minting error, though subtle at first glance, was enough to make these particular coins stand out from the millions of other nickels that were produced that year. The misalignment created a noticeable distortion in the design, particularly on the reverse side where the Monticello building was struck slightly off-center. This anomaly, small but significant, was what set the 1989 error nickels apart from the rest. The beauty of these coins lay in their rarity and the story behind their creation. Errors in minting are not common, and when they do occur, they're usually spotted and discarded quickly by the mint's quality control team. But every now and then, a coin with a subtle error escapes the rigorous scrutiny of the mint and makes its way into circulation. This is exactly what happened with the 1989 off-center nickels. For the most part, these error coins went unnoticed at first. Most people who encountered them probably thought nothing of the slight misalignment, dismissing them as mere imperfections. After all, people are used to seeing coins with minor flaws, such as small scratches or worn designs, so an off-center strike might have seemed like just another minor irregularity. But in the world of coin collecting, every small mistake has the potential to become a treasure. It wasn't long before savvy collectors began to realize the value of these off-center 1989 nickels. The rarity of such errors, combined with the unique charm of the misalignment, made these coins highly desirable. In the years following their release, demand for the 1989 off-center nickels began to grow, and collectors began to hunt for them. Some of these coins were found in circulation, while others were uncovered through collections that had been stored away for years. As collectors began to search for and collect these off-center nickels, the price of the coins began to rise. What had once been a 5-cent piece of everyday currency was now becoming an item of interest, and the value of the 1989 off-center nickel skyrocketed. The true value of these rare coins became clear when one particular example, in near-perfect condition, sold for a jaw-dropping $128,000. This was no ordinary nickel, this was a piece of American history, an artifact that had survived the rigors of circulation and emerged as a rare gem in the world of numismatics. The auction that saw the sale of this coin was a defining moment in the world of coin collecting. Collectors from around the world were drawn to the opportunity to own such a rare and valuable piece of American currency. The bidding was fierce, and in the end, it was the highest bidder who walked away with the coin, now worth far more than its original face value. So, why did the 1989 USA 5-cent coin become so valuable? It wasn't just because of the design, which had been in circulation for decades. It was because of the rare minting error that made some of these coins stand out from the rest. The misalignment of the strike was subtle but significant, and the limited number of these coins that were produced made them highly desirable to collectors. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is key, and the 1989 off-center nickel embodies this principle perfectly. As we wrap up the story of the 1989 5-cent coin, we are reminded that sometimes, the most ordinary things can become extraordinary. A simple mistake in the minting process, a coin that was once worth just 5 cents, can transform into a rare and valuable collectible that captures the imagination of collectors around the world. The 1989 off-center nickel serves as a testament to the unpredictable nature of coin collecting and how a small imperfection can sometimes lead to a big payoff. The next time you're holding a nickel, take a closer look. Who knows? You might just be holding onto a rare and valuable piece of history. After all, in the world of numismatics, the value of a coin can change in the blink of an eye, and what was once worth just 5 cents might one day be worth a small fortune. Just ask the lucky collector who walked away with a 1989 off-center nickel for $128,000.